Hello, everyone. It's the Generational Talent in Garden State Media coming to you from Lawrenceville here on the beautiful campus of Rider University for debate night in New Jersey. And of course, this is the first of the two ELEC gubernatorial debates during this 2025 election cycle. And yes, I am Fernando Uribe. Of course, I want to thank you all for tuning in from wherever and however you may be doing so here on Jersey First TV. What a packed house. We had over 1,500 people in attendance. It felt really like the good old days at the old ECW arena. And really, let's be honest, folks, a lot of dignitaries, elected officials, members of the press, surrogates on both sides. And I got to tell you, folks, Jack Ciattarelli and Rebecca Sherrill came out swinging with a lot of good policy perspectives and, of course, some good one-liners throughout the evening. First and foremost, I want to thank David Wildstein and the New Jersey Globe for the invite tonight as a credentialed member of the press. So I appreciate their invitation. Of course, great job by the panel. Of course, a great job by the staff here at Rider University for all the accommodations and, of course, all the great technical sound and picture quality that we got throughout the evening. Of course, all of you are watching at home, of course, via the New Jersey Globe social media platforms. I hope you get to enjoy it. A good 90 minutes, of course, hosted by Laura Jones from On New Jersey. And, of course, folks, a great turnout tonight for what undoubtedly is going to be talked about for the very next few days. We'll see what it does with polling, of course, and which candidate ultimately is going to get a bump in the polls when it comes to tonight's performance. Now, let's start off with some of the questions early on. And once again, folks, if you're just watching this right now, it makes a difference. Like, comment, and share this video. Of course, it helps get the episode out to more people. It certainly helps get the content out to much more viewers. And we appreciate your support of the Jersey First television network. Now, again, shout out to Matt Rooney, the editor-in-chief of Save Jersey, and certainly a guy who is a media personality in his own right here in New Jersey. Of course, with his radio show, The Matt Rooney Show on WPHT in Philadelphia, saving me a seat in the press area. So, Mr. Rooney, love you for that, and I appreciate you. See you soon. Hopefully, I'll see you at the League of Municipalities in November as we celebrate a Jack Ciattarelli victory. But, of course, let's call balls and strikes fairly here on the program, folks. Again, a good recap as it's real talk on the road here, once again on the campus of Rider University. Now, early on, again, just taking some good notes here. And by the way, just had to take notes on my reporter's handbook here, of course. And if you can see it there, we just zoom in, folks. Of course, it's in honor of Michael Aaron, the dean, arguably the GOAT of New Jersey journalism. And again, certainly had to make sure I pay homage to him and take some notes tonight during the broadcast. But let's start off here really. And I got to say, obviously, right from the start here, questions right from David Wildstein, once again, the editor of the New Jersey Globe, talking about whether or not Representative Sherrill will be promising more transparency during her administration. I think, listen, again, calling balls and strikes here fairly and objectively. I think Sherrill did a nice job answering the question. Now, again, I would argue, folks, going into tonight, we know that Rebecca Sherrill, her ads have been a little ambiguous. Her ads have not really given us a lot of sizzle, right? On the contrary, I would argue Jack Ciattarelli's ads have given us a lot more steak, if anything, during this election season. But with 44 days to go, folks, not every ad's going to reach every person, and certainly not every talking point is going to resonate with every voter. But I got to say early on, certainly Representative Sherrill talked about transparency. Also, Jack Ciattarelli talked about early on freezing property taxes, for example, for seniors starting at the age of 70, and of course, taking handcuffs off of police here in New Jersey. Now, I got to tell you, with two elderly parents, just hearing that you're freezing property taxes for anyone over the age of 70, I think is music to a lot of residents' ears here in New Jersey. A lot of elderly residents are feeling the crunch with the highest property taxes in the country. As we all know, New Jersey leads the nation with an average of over $10,000 per year when it comes to property taxes. So seeing some property tax relief for seniors starting at the age of 70, I think got a really good response from the crowd. You could see Representative Sherrill was a little, not rattled by it, but you could tell she wasn't expecting that. But folks, I got to tell you, the energy tonight was certainly in Jack Ciattarelli's favor. No question, I think that we had surrogates and people supportive of Representative Sherrill. We had New Jersey State Democrat Party Chair Leroy Jones in attendance. We had Essex County Executive Carl DiVincenzo in the House. We also had Speaker of the New Jersey State Assembly, Craig Coughlin, in the building. So there's no shortage of establishment Democrats that were here to support Representative Sherrill. Listen, I even saw Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop, who I'm sure would have loved to been on stage against Jack Chiarelli, but that was not to be. But in any event, a lot of surrogates here for Representative Sherrill, but a lot of great representatives for Jack Chiarelli, a lot of elected officials, a lot of members of media that are conservative like myself, along with Matt Rooney, that were here and certainly applauding Jack Chiarelli. And folks, I can just tell you the energy in the room was certainly much more favorable to Jack. And yes, as I mentioned before, you had some of the usual surrogates here that are in the Sherrill campaign. You had some of the more insufferable ones. I happened to see Patricia Campos Medina. I mean, I'm surprised to see her do any work on a Sunday night, or not just any day of the week, to be honest with you, but surprised to see her here. Speaking about just even seeing people do work on any day of the week. I mean, seeing Charles Style here from the Bergen Record via NorthJersey.com. I made sure to say hi to Chucky early on during the evening, of course, making sure I got his attention, and certainly. And, more on Charles Style later, especially during the media scrum after the debate. But again, getting back to the questions that were asked tonight, again, a lot of good positive perspectives from both Mikey Sherrill and Jack Chiarelli. Second question came from Micah Rasmussen, the director of the Rebovich Institute of American Politics here at Rider University. Once again, great job by him and David Wallstein tonight. Certainly two guys that are regulars on my show, Real Talk, which, by the way, folks, you can check out every Monday Night Live via Jersey First TV, whether it's on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, also as well as on YouTube. Certainly, I always welcome them, and I'll look forward to seeing them later on during this fall season as Election Day is approaching in 44 days. But again, getting back to the questions, very interesting here. Micah did ask whether or not Jack Chiarelli was supportive of the president, the way that he was going after New York City for the congestion taxing, of course, the SALT deductions, which continues to be in the news cycle, of course. And Jack Chiarelli, without hesitation, made sure to show his support for the president. Now, again, I would argue that Representative Sherrill on numerous occasions evoked the president's name. And even during the media scrum, again, and I'll more on that later, I was eager to ask Representative Sherrill whether or not this fixation on the president of the United States was going to be healthy. We know it's a playbook that doesn't exactly resonate with everybody. Yeah, it resonates with establishment Democrats, some of the progressives in New Jersey, but Representative Sherrill is going to have to win over independents, folks, which right now are polling largely and overwhelmingly for Jack Chiarelli. So again, both candidates, I think, very, very transparent about transparency during that line of question. Third question came from Sophie Nieto Munoz from the New Jersey Monitor, talking about whether to codify political violence as a hate crime here in New Jersey. If you're not aware, New Jersey State Senators Brian Stack and Doug Steinhardt are going to introduce a bill in the New Jersey State Senate shortly about codifying political violence as a hate crime. And obviously, folks, we've seen what happened in just the last couple of weeks, the absurd assassination and the murder of Charlie Kirk on live television by a left-wing extremist, as we've all come to learn. And folks, what's interesting, though, is both candidates, I think, were very, very clear about, yes, I would want to codify that as a hate crime. I think it's unacceptable that political violence comes from both sides of the aisle. I think both candidates were clear about that. But certainly, again, a lot of positive responses for Jack Chiarelli during the evening. And I can just tell you again, folks, don't just take it from me because I'm a conservative. I could feel the buzz in the room. Jack Chiarelli landed some good punches tonight. In fairness, Representative Sherrill did too. And again, if for all you boxing fans, I think you'll appreciate the analogy here. If we're scoring rounds and we're going on points, I think Jack Chiarelli won this fight tonight on points. Now, I don't think either of them hurt each other. I don't think either of them came away looking soft or vulnerable. But I would argue, I think Jack Chiarelli came across much more prepared. I think a lot more policy-driven, and a lot more specifics. Again, Representative Sherrill, I'm sure for the last few days, has been preparing for this debate, and rightfully so. You've seen her ads have been very ambiguous. And in many instances, when she's done interviews with the media, in the limited ones that she's done, folks, let's be honest, it's a bunch of word salads. Haven't we lived through that already? We lived through it last year with Kamala Harris, the queen of word salads, during the 2024 election cycle for the presidency. I think residents here in New Jersey specifically, since New Jersey barely remained blue in the last election cycle, only by 4 points, which Kamala Harris won New Jersey and its 14 electoral votes. Folks, I think there's a lot to be said about whether or not New Jersey residents are going to come out and they're going to be energized the way they were last year, whether it's voting early, vote by mail. Folks, we saw the energy of the president last November. Now, whether or not Donald Trump comes to New Jersey to campaign for Jack Chiarelli, whether it's at MetLife Stadium, whether it's at Prudential Center, who knows? I can just tell you, folks, it might be something to watch out for in the coming weeks. But certainly, again, both candidates, I think, were strong on that. Uh, Jack Chiarelli took a question from one of the students here at Rider University about how to lower property taxes. And let's be honest, folks, I think it's a very, very transparent question. I think, again, we lead the country in the highest property taxes in the nation. And I think that's a question that for the next 44 days, both Rebecca Sherrill and Jack Chiarelli are going to have to answer on the campaign trail as they're going up and down all 21 counties here. A couple other things here, too. Also, certainly, Jack Chiarelli took a question from a Rider University alumnus talking about energy, and certainly Jack was quick on his feet talking about reopening plants and accelerating solar energy plants, which again, New Jersey is in dire need of, folks. We've seen energy costs skyrocket during the summer. They're continuing to skyrocket now during the fall. I'm sure during the winter, and we're expecting a very cold winter, folks. I think a lot of people want to heat their homes. They might think twice, especially with the rising energy costs here in New Jersey. Jack took a question from a student about the right to privacy. And of course, obviously with the advancements in AI, artificial intelligence that we've been seeing in recent years, whether or not a Governor Chiarelli would try to, at least ultimately, I would say, pass along with the legislature, some legislation, or at least have a bill signed by him when it comes to respecting the privacy of people. And again, Rebecca Sherrill was also in agreement about that when it comes to a right to privacy, even in this day of artificial intelligence. A great question by a 96-year-old resident, which I thought was amazing. God bless her. She was feisty. She was energetic. But she asked Representative Sherrill about merging municipalities. And folks, we've talked about this. And if you remember when I've interviewed former Senate President Steve Sweeney, listen, he was notorious for introducing the premise of trying to consolidate municipalities. Folks, it's 21 counties with over 534 municipalities here in New Jersey. I'll be honest with you. I think there needs to be some consolidation. So it seemed like Representative Sherrill was amenable to that, and so was Jack Chiarelli. A question that Jack took from one of the students here at Rider University addressing climate change. I mean, again, folks, nothing ever ceases to amaze me in higher education. Listen, I don't want to underestimate that climate's an issue, but folks, again, in a state like New Jersey, with the highest property taxes in the country, with tolls continue to go up, the gas tax is the fourth highest anywhere in the country. I'm not sure climate change is really high on the priority list for a lot of residents during this election cycle. But, viable question, no doubt. But certainly, folks, I think just like last year, I think New Jersey voters will be voting with their pockets when early voting starts, when vote by mail begins, and certainly at the ballot box coming up on November the 4th. Talking about Medicaid reform during the evening, which I thought was very interesting. As we all know, that Medicaid reform has come under some scrutiny since the passage of the big, beautiful bill by the House of Representatives and the United States Senate, and which was signed by President Trump earlier during the spring. Folks, again, I think Medicaid reform is not unreasonable. It's not outlandish. I think asking Medicaid recipients to verify their eligibility twice a year is not a lot to ask for. Asking for 20 hours of work in a week is not a lot to ask for as well. So I think a good question there about Medicaid reform. Certainly a question from Sophie Nieto Munoz from the New Jersey Monitor about whether or not the Immigrant Trust Directive is something that both candidates would ensure would continue in New Jersey. Credit to Jack. He stood firm in talking about, hey, on day one, first executive orders to rescind the sanctuary statehood of New Jersey. Folks, you know how I feel about this. Illegals are running wild, not just throughout the country, but we see it here in New Jersey. I wish one of the moderators would have talked about certainly Laken Riley. I think that would have been a good gut punch for Rebecca Sherrill, because she voted no on the Laken Riley Act. And I think that was a bad vote for her during this cycle. So we'll see without a doubt, of course. And I think obviously we'll get to see that during the, of course, trying to, okay, you get through as I'm recording live. You go. Come on, let's go. Come on. All right, come on. You see me talking here. Come on. All right, folks, here again as we continue with the debate wrap up here during the election cycle here on the campus of Rider University. Again, folks, if you're just tuning in, it's Fernando Uribe coming to you from Lawrenceville here on the campus of Rider University. And again, great wrap up here just as we're finishing up here. Last question of the day came from David Wildstein, the editor of the New Jersey Globe, talking about whether or not we should have more resources for mental health services here in the state of New Jersey. Folks, I can tell you, I think it was a great question by David Wildstein. Both candidates, I think, spoke very crisp and very clearly about this, of course. And again, I think those were the Q&As during this town hall format, which I think was really, really great. Again, once again, I want to thank David Wildstein of the New Jersey Globe along with Rider University, Micah Rasmussen, the director of the of the Politics Institute here at Rider University. Again, the Rebovich Institute, great job that all the students do with him here at the Rebovich Institute for American Politics at Rider University. Folks, again, just to wrap it up here, great job by both candidates. I would say they didn't hurt themselves at all, but I got to tell you, Jack Chiarelli looked really strong. I think if the election were held tomorrow, I think Jack Chiarelli wins easily. But as we all know, folks, certainly, obviously, we know that vote by mail will make a difference for Democrats. I think voting early will galvanize Republicans. We saw that during the 2024 election cycle. And obviously, we'll see it on Election Day, without a doubt. So in any event, folks, obviously, you'll see some clips on my social media during the media scrum. I was happy to get some questions in to both Jack Chiarelli and Rebecca Sherrill during the media scrum. So again, thanks to the great staff here at Rider University and the New Jersey Globe, of course, on New Jersey as well, for putting this media production together. And I appreciate the opportunity to be invited to the media scrum as a credentialed member of the press. So really, folks, that's my recap here tonight. Real Talk is on the road here in Lawrenceville on the beautiful campus of Rider University as we wrap it up here tonight for debate night in New Jersey, the first of two debates during this election cycle. We were hoping for more, but that's not to be. I know the next debate is coming up in October, which will be hosted by ABC7, the New York affiliate for ABC. So stay tuned for that one. I'm going to try to make that one as well and be in attendance and give you, again, the best analysis and commentary about everything going on in Jersey politics. It's always here with Real Talk with Fernando Uribe via Jersey First TV. So, folks, again, it takes a few seconds. Like, comment, share tonight's recap here as Real Talk is on the road at Rider University. So, once again, folks, if you can, we appreciate your support. And as I said, that's our recap tonight. Hope you enjoyed the debate. I think a lot of voters tuned in. Again, we'll see what the traffic looks like online. But, folks, it was a capacity crowd here on Rider University's campus. I think over 1,500 people. It looked really like an old indie promotion program, whether it was ECW back in the day, right, in the old ECW arena in downtown Philadelphia, or even some of the small indie wrestling promotions that we've come to see over the years. As a big wrestling fan, I love those promotions. Great energy here, great turnout at Rider University, and we'll see if it makes a difference when the next polling comes out during this gubernatorial election cycle. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for tuning in here. Once again, like, comment, and share tonight's recap here as Real Talk is on the road at Rider University. And always remember, folks, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always Real Talk here on the Jersey First Television Network. I am the generational talent in Garden State Media, and certainly the hero you need right now, folks, because as the establishment media in New Jersey continues to lie to you every single day, folks, let's be honest, Fernando Uribe never will. That's why you trust me every single week. So we'll see you next time here, folks, as Real Talk is on the road here at Rider University for debate night in New Jersey. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon here on the Jersey First Television Network.